Imagine this. You've just bought Cities Skylines 2, and you go to start a new city. You see this screen and ask yourself, which map should I use? They're all so different from each other, and each one has certain benefits and drawbacks. So let's take a deep dive through each map together. Our first map, probably the most unique, is Archipelago Heaven. While the buildable area is the smallest of all the maps at 16%, it has access to every outside connection and has a somewhat rainy, warm climate. The map is gorgeous, with countless islands that can be used to build out a collection of tiny towns, or you can make a sprawling metropolis in the middle island. This one is by far one of the most visually interesting of the available maps. The start square is quite simple, a nicely detailed partial cloverleaf interchange with a roundabout at one end and a curved road at the other end. Although on a European base theme, this start does lend itself well to building out an American-style town, but generally will work for almost anything. The contrasts on this map are striking, with tall mountains and islands that slope into the sea. For those who like a lot of visual interest, this map is perfect. The terrain isn't very flat, so it may be a challenge to players new to the Cities Skylines franchise, but it's worth giving a shot. Barrier Islands is likely to be one of the most popular maps for those who are new to the Cities Skylines series, or for players looking to build out large, sprawling cities. With 41% buildable area and access to every outside connection, the map also has a sunny, temperate climate, and it's mostly flat with a nice coastline that's reminiscent of Long Island in Connecticut. The starting square comes right off of a long bridge, leading players to build out the entire island before expanding to the mainland. Really a great map to build two large cities in an interconnected region. But because it's so flat, you can do almost anything with it with little modification. It does leave quite a bit to be desired aesthetically from the ground. Without large mountains and only the sea as a barrier, this map may feel quite empty until you've got a large city. But those who want to start easy and expand fast, Barrier Island is the perfect choice. If you want a little more challenge and terrain variation, but still want to build a large city, Great Highlands is an excellent choice. Just like Barrier Island, it has access to all outside connections, but it's a slightly cooler climate. And the higher elevations on the outskirt of the map create a nice backdrop for your city. With its multiple rivers, it allows for some interesting patterns. And you could build many settlements here, or just one massive metro area. This one is recommended for intermediate players with some experience, but it is also beginner friendly. The starting square comes off of a trumpet interchange with a roundabout at the end, and in the distance is another small two-lane highway, suggesting that you can easily access multiple outside connections without expanding too much. Although it has access to the sea, it still feels like an inland map, which is a unique combination. And its somewhat understated peaks are tasteful and work perfectly, and seems to resemble the Scottish Highlands. One of the maps with a large amount of buildable area at 49%, Lakeland is another excellent map for beginners. Although being an inland map, it only has road, rail, and power outside connections, so using harbors is not an option on this map to ship goods or bring in tourists. Although the default base theme is European, the map's numerous lakes and rivers are highly reminiscent of Minnesota and Western Ontario, and it's a perfect fit for building a Midwest American or Canadian-style city, and the start square seems to suggest that, with its small grid already provided. The map's not entirely flat and has some rolling hills covered in forest, which does look nice from the ground, but the sheer amount of lakes and rivers helps break up the monotony, preventing this map from looking like a blank green square in places. Another inland map, Mountain Village is in a cold climate with 21% buildable area. Again, this one has no ship connection to the outside, but it has all of the natural resources in abundance. Reminiscent of the Alps of Europe or the Himalayas in South Asia, this map has massive mountain peaks covered in snow for most of the year and a mostly flat river valley in the center. It's great for building on a small town along the river, and the start square is quite simple and has a nice roundabout with a road coming off of it, giving players options to build any type of city. What really sets this map apart is just how majestic the mountains look in comparison to the flat land below. It is truly breathtaking. The bridges on this map are a nice touch, making it feel quaint and cozy, and it looks just as good from the ground and is a joy to explore. It's great for players of all skill levels. A coastal map with a river flowing from the mountains to the sea. Although I don't know which real-world place the designer of this map took inspiration from, River Delta looks a bit like some of these areas around the coast of China or possibly the Indus River area in Pakistan. It is quite a nice map for both beginners or intermediate players. With 42% buildable area and access to all outside connection types, it has a sunny, temperate climate with a wide temperature variation. This map has a lot going on. Small highways crisscross the entire map, and a majestic bridge crosses the river right at its mouth before emptying into the sea, where a chain of islands vaguely resembling the Paradox Interactive logo mark the edge of the playable area of the map. This map seems a bit structured because it's boxed in by 2 rivers and multiple highways of varying sizes. It can seem a bit overwhelming to know where to expand to, but could lead to some very creative layouts. I'd say this map is likely best for intermediate players. The mountains are a nice mid-size, providing a good backdrop to the city without being too imposing. Available with the Ultimate Edition or the San Francisco set, this map is exactly as it says. A height map of the city of San Francisco. It includes the Golden Gate Bridge, which is quite true to life and very nice. The map has a high buildable area, but it must be noted that it's only the city of San Francisco and some of Marin County, so you won't get the East Bay. The freeways don't quite follow the real-world city, and the map itself actually follows the historic pre-European settlement shoreline as opposed to its modern shore, which is a really cool touch actually. Ironically enough, this map isn't that hilly and has lots of flat buildable area, especially in the start square, which comes off of one end of a partial cloverleaf interchange. Again, not true to life. The highway going north and south does roughly follow the real-world alignment of Highway 101 from the Bay Bridge down the Bay Shore, and the rail is just outside of the start square. You also have relatively easy access to Alcatraz Island, which is a great place to build a prison. The map is great for players of all skill levels, and if you're going for pure gameplay and not trying to recreate the city one-to-one in any meaningful way, it's an excellent choice. This map is a bit deceiving. Based on the Plains of Canterbury region in New Zealand, it is one of the most beautiful maps in the game, with massive mountains that are often snow-covered and a cold, rainy climate. Sweeping Plains is not for the faint of heart. Although it looks like a simple, flat coastal map with large mountains as a backdrop, there's almost no truly flat terrain on the entire map. It's best for experienced players who are intermediate to advanced level, but beginners will still find this map enjoyable as it does allow for large coastal cities. The start square is quite simple, with this cute little peanut roundabout interchange and a straight road off of it on each side. But the starting square is quite far from the rail connection, and they're up a steep incline, so bringing trains in early in the game will be challenging, but not impossible. Some players may love this, others may hate it. It's quite rainy much of the time on this map, and the winters are long, and the snow reaches all elevations from the mountains down to the coast. If you pre-ordered the game, you'll get access to this hype map of Tampere, Finland, which is the location of the headquarters of Colossal Order. This map, by far, has the most buildable area at 66% and is almost entirely flat with some rolling hills. One issue I had with this map, which I believe is a glitch, is that the current elevation of this cinematic is the highest that the camera tool would let me zoom out. I hope this bug will be fixed, but at the time of making this video, it's still an issue, and only on this map. That being said, the shape of the map and the amount of water makes up for the somewhat boring view from the ground. The dense forests do make everything feel lush, and the easy start square with rail just outside of it is perfect for beginners who are wanting to easily build a large city quickly. Twin Mountain feels like Sweeping Plains, but with a unique twist. It has no rail connection whatsoever. This will require players to either import all outside goods and visitors via road, air, or sea, or purchase tiles at the edge of the map to create outside rail connections. Regardless, the design of this map is very similar to Sweeping Plains. Although the mountains aren't quite as striking and it has a bit more buildable area, the starting square is very simple, with a 4-lane road coming out of the highway. This map has very little truly flat land, but it's more forgiving than Sweeping Plains, as the elevation is a bit more gradual. The main highway acts as a barrier to accessing the coast, encouraging some interesting designs. From the ground, the map looks lovely. Although on a European theme with a very cold climate, it somewhat reminds me of the Central or Southern California coastline, which is an interesting juxtaposition. Oddly enough, besides San Francisco, this is the only North American themed map actually set in the Northern Hemisphere. With a temperate, sunny climate and a massive variation in temperatures, this map is interesting. From the ground, the way the mountains are designed reminds me of the American Mountain West, places like Wyoming, Utah, or Colorado. But the river flows into the sea. It's a unique landscape, and the flat buildable area in the center is perfect for creating either a collection of interconnected towns, one large sprawling city, or two cities divided by the river in the center. The start square is essentially the iconic Cities Skylines start that existed in the base game of CS1, a flyover interchange into a simple 4-lane highway. Although the map does have quite a bit of change in elevation as you move away from the river, it is manageable, and this map would be great for beginners or intermediate players. Advanced players may find the starting square a bit simple, but really anyone will find this map enjoyable to play on. This is another very unique landscape. Windy Fjords looks a bit like the Fjordland area of New Zealand, or possibly the Tierra del Fuego region on the border of Chile and Argentina. With such a cold, rainy climate, it makes sense that it would be similar to some of the most southern, permanently inhabited places in the world, close to Antarctica. Although it only has 21% buildable area, the space in the center of the map is perfect for a large, sprawling city, and it isn't too drastic to scare away beginners. Windy Fjords is a great choice for players of all skill levels. The map has so many nice little goodies. This long arched bridge as a two-way highway is a nice touch. But I especially love this little lake kind of in the center of the map. One issue I do see is that the outside connection for rail is quite far away from the starting square, but overall, this is a solid map with such a nice, varied landscape. on my channel, I do a lot of content for both Cities Skylines 1 and 2. And if you found this video helpful and would like to see more great videos, start here. And I'll see you all next time.